Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to discuss PKD's Flow My Tears. We're going to do this the usual way. Please check out the description box of this video below for timestamps and additional resources. This book was published in 1974, but Dick had written a good chunk of it over several years actually. He had produced 140 pages in just a couple of days and then took a longer pause, and he ended up revising parts of it at least 7 times. The title was inspired by a piece of music by John Dowland's The Second Book of Songs of Aries from the 1600s. Dick cites 4 of the 5 stanzas from Flow My Tears as it appears in the music. The manuscript of the book was stored in a safe of his lawyer for a while, which was fortunate because right in that time period, not only was his apartment ransacked, but Dick's 4th marriage to Nancy Hackett ended around the time he began work on Flow My Tears. Shortly thereafter, Dick met and married Tessa Busby, who was substantially younger than he. They had a son, Christopher, born 1973. During and following his separation from his earlier wife, Nancy, Dick experienced severe bouts of depression and also ongoing struggles with amphetamine use. So he traveled to Vancouver in British Columbia to deliver lectures and subsequently sought treatment, both psychological and for drug dependency. He reportedly underwent a difficult withdrawal period and struggled with suicidal thoughts as well. After his Vancouver stay, Dick relocated to Southern California. Philip Dick's Flow My Tears, the policeman said, takes place in a near-future dystopia under heavy police surveillance. Society is structured by rigid identification measures, making it nearly impossible to exist without official documentation. The story centers on Jason Taverner, a famous and haughty television host whose life unravels when his identity gets wiped from all state records. Caught off guard by his sudden erasure, Taverner embarks on a frantic quest to re-establish his identity. Along the way, he encounters informants, forgers, and authority figures, each with their own agendas. One of the key figures is Felix Buckman, a high-ranking policeman who has a child from the incestuous relationship with his sister. From a Jungian perspective, and you can interpret this novel a million ways, the protagonist's persona, or the construct that enables individuals to adapt to societal expectations and function within their social environment, is brutally and instantly shattered. So we meander between the protagonist and the policeman's perspective, which reflect not only their personal struggles, but also the sharply defined strata of this society. A central preoccupation of Flow My Tears is the insidious nature of the all-pervasive government apparatus. In this future United States, social order depends on rigorous monitoring of citizens through identity cards and constant surveillance. Political power is consolidated in such a way that those who wield it can erase or rewrite a person's existence, effectively sentencing them to social and legal oblivion. The very state that once officially recognized his celebrity is now responsible for rendering the protagonist a non-person. Dick presents the police state not simply as a matter of big government or official corruption, but as a deeply ingrained attitude. A lot of themes of the ubiquitous police state are casually interwoven into the storyline and character interaction, so that it becomes rather normalized. Dick's nonchalant treatment of topics associated with a dysfunctional police state probably are part of the world building in this novel and hence a literary tool. Nevertheless, we have a lot to digest when reading this book. Some of the topics are incest, eugenics, the forced labor camps, and so on. The protagonist's plight vividly illustrates how fragile status, celebrity, and individual rights are in a system that values control and compliance above human dignity. Another theme in Flow My Tears is the exploration of how consciousness can be manipulated, whether by government surveillance or chemical substances, and how this manipulation opens up disconcerting possibilities of alternate realities. Dick introduces an unsettling phenomenon. Certain drugs can alter or destroy official identity data, or more profoundly, they can rewrite reality altogether. The narrative shows that specific mind-altering substances hold the power to trigger quantum-like leaps across parallel realities. Chemical compounds have the capacity to split the user's consciousness from the collective reality and thereby generating a sort of branch universe that reconfigures identity, documents, relationships, and even memories retroactively. In one sense, these branch universes might be illusions, but the novel insists that the consequences of these illusions reverberate and become fact. The protagonist's predicament of being lost in a world that does not recognize him reveals how effectively a drug can redraw reality. Dick is fascinated with the interplay between subjective interiority and a presumably objective outside world. Within this multiverse notion, subjective drug experiences reshape the objective domain in the novel with near cosmic significance. Drugs function as a catalyst that expose the latent multiverse of the novel. They break open the simple assumptions of a single, stable world, presenting instead a plethora of shifting possible existences. Third important topic of the novel is the central theme of personal identity and the precarious nature of public personas. Taverner's predicament vividly demonstrates how identity is not merely a private consciousness, but is tethered to external validation, documentation, social roles, and recognition by authorities. When his official records evaporate, Taverner loses both his celebrity status and his very sense of self. The seamless intersection of who I am and what records say I am forms the cornerstone of Dick's examination of identity in a technocratic society. On one level, Taverner's ordeal highlights the dependence on institutional frameworks. Without official proof, be it a birth certificate, ID card, or social security number, an individual becomes invisible to the structures that determine access to employment, housing, and basic human rights. The novel underscores that modern identity is mediated by government databases and procedural validations. When Taverner ceases to exist within those systems, he experiences an existential crisis. On another level, Dick also explores the psychological impact of such identity loss. Taverner's frantic pursuit of forgers to recreate valid documents becomes a quest for recognition. If he cannot prove his existence, can he even lay claim to being the same person he was the day before? The novel poses questions about what exactly constitutes identity. Moreover, by placing Taverner at the intersection of fame and anonymity, Dick suggests that one's public persona, particularly for a celebrity, is inescapably intertwined with external forms of authentication. The persona is as much a legal construct as it is a psychological or social one. Lose the paperwork or the title and you lose your livelihood and your sense of who you are. Thanks, Jason said. He inhaled a deep sum of morning air, smog-infested as it was. I got out, he said to himself. They could have hung 1,000 busts on me, but they didn't. A female voice, very throaty, said from close by, "How now, little man?" Never in his life had he been called little man. He stood over 6 feet tall. Turning, he started to say something in answer, then made out the creature who had addressed him. She too stood a full 6 feet in height. They matched in that department, but in contrast to him, she wore tight black pants, a leather shirt, red with tassel fringes, gold-hooped earrings, and a belt made of chain, and spike-heeled shoes. Jesus Christ, he thought, appalled. Where's her whip? Were you talking to me? He said. Yes, she smiled, showing teeth ornamented with gold signs of the zodiac. They put 3 items on you before you got out there. I thought you ought to know. I know, Jason said, wondering who or what she was. One of them, the girl said, is a miniaturized H-bomb. It can be detonated by a radio signal emitted from this building. Did you know about that? Presently he said, No, I didn't. It's the way he works things, the girl said. My brother. He raps mellow and nice to you, civilized, and then he has one of his staff, he has a huge staff, plant that garbage on you before you can walk out the door of the building. Your brother, Jason said, General Buckman. He could see now the resemblances between them. The thin, elongated nose, the high cheekbones, the neck like a Modigliani, tapered beautifully. Very patrician, he thought. They both of them impressed him. So she must be a 7 too, he said to himself. He felt himself become wary again. The hackles on his neck burned as he confronted her. I'll get them off you, she said, still smiling, like General Buckman, a good-toothed smile. Good enough, Jason said. Come over to my quibble. She started off lightly. He loped clumsily after her. A moment later they sat together in the front bucket seats of her quibble. Ali is my name, she said. He said, I'm Jason Taverner, the singer and TV personality. Oh, really? I haven't watched a TV program since I was 9. You haven't missed much, he said. He didn't know if he meant it ironically. Frankly, he thought, I'm too tired to care. The little bomb is the size of a seed, Alice said, and it's embedded like a tick in your skin. Normally, even if you knew it was there someplace on you, you still could never find it, but I borrowed this from the academy. She held up a tube-like light. This glows when you get it near a seed bomb. She began at once efficiently and nearly professionally to move the light across his body. At his left wrist, the light glowed. I also have the kit they use to remove a seed bomb, Alice said. From her mail pouch purse, she brought a shallow tin, which she had once opened. The sooner it's cut out of you, the better, she said, as she lifted a cutting tool from the kit. For 2 minutes she cut expertly, meanwhile spraying an analgesic compound on the wound, and then it lay in her hand, as she had said, the size of a seed. Thanks, he said, for removing the thorn from my paw. By dramatizing Taverner's scramble to reclaim his official status, Dick probes to what extent society defines someone's existence. Dick's work continues to resonate today. It addresses the tension between state oversight and personal freedom. And it talks about the role that fear plays in making humans malleable and accepting of control. As is often the case when I read one of Dick's novels, serendipity or synchronicity strikes and I am being made aware of a piece of information. This time a video about dimensions and consciousness levels landed in my YouTube feed. It's a wonderful summary by a young lady about the various perspectives we can take on life and on the levels human beings can take on. I encourage you to take a look at this video, calibrate your current state of consciousness and become aware of what is ahead. I hope this was worth your time. Thanks for watching and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.